Hello and welcome to Seniors Count. I'm Annette Richardson, your host, and on our show, we believe that you are the foundation on which Boston was built. So our goal is to connect you to resources, benefits, and information to enhance your life. So thank you for joining us. And today we welcome Dorchester reporter columnist Barbara Mcdonough. Welcome to the show. Hi, Barbara. How are you?
Good, thanks, Annette.
Good. I understand you write for the Dorchester Reporter.
Yes.
And how long have you been doing that?
32 years.
32 years. Wow.
I started at the beginning of the newspaper.
Oh, so you and the newspaper the same?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
that's great.
That's how I know.
That's how you know. So what inspired you to start writing a column?
My boss called me at this time of year and said, I am starting a new newspaper in September. It was August, September. And he said, I'd like to have you write for me. And I was shocked, really shocked. I had filled in for a friend who wrote for another Dorchester paper. She became ill and asked me to jump in for her. So he knew the type of writing I did.
Okay.
And so I agreed. It was a monthly, and I said, I can do that easily. Then we became every 2 weeks, and now we're every week.
Now you're weekly, so now you're
for many years.
For a while now. That's great.
Oh, many years.
That's great. That's great. So what inspired you to start writing?
I like to write. When I was in college, my freshman year, the teacher liked my writing very much. I wrote about my grandmother, whom I knew well, and I wrote about my church and how pretty it looked with snow on the rose window, and that kind of thing. And she liked it very much. So then I just jumped in for my friend Nancy, who became ill, and wrote for her paper. And then Ed called me. My boss, Ed Forey, called me and asked me to write for our newspaper.
That's
the Reporter.
good. So you like to write from a personal standpoint?
Oh, yes, yes.
That's great.
Yeah, everything is my thoughts.
Okay, that's wonderful. So where do you get the information about the articles or stories that you write?
Most of the time I experience it.
Okay.
And then when we have weddings in the neighborhood, people will call me and say, my son got married last week.
Okay.
You know, would you like to write about it? And I'm thrilled to do that kind of thing, or a new baby.
That's good.
Something like that.
So it's good news.
Oh, it's all, no, I don't, well, I do my sorrow at a wake. I've been to many wakes in the past, during the summer. It seemed like quite a few people died.
Endless, I know.
And I had to write about them. They deserve to be written about.
Yeah, yeah.
So just nice people.
That's good, though. It's good to be remembered. So that's a nice way. That's a nice way to do it.
And that's how I remember them.
Yes, that's
So,
excellent. And I saw your husband outside.
Yes.
So I know our friend Eileen O'Connor.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, she says, oh, make sure check and see if her husband's there. I'm like, okay, I will.
He's here, yeah, and my daughter's here too today.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite topics to write about?
People especially like my family, and they're so used to my writing about it that they know my family. I've been writing about my grandkids since the day they were born. The world's greatest grandchildren, by the way. And we did a trip to Rockport with the seniors.
Okay.
And we just happened to come across my daughter and the grandkids. I was sitting just resting, and she came to the bank right next to it, and she goes, "Is that my mother? Is that Grandma?" So I wanted the people to meet them because they were so used to hearing about Brendan and Erin.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I took them down to where we were just getting ready to board the bus for back home here. And so the kids stayed right where the people boarded the bus, and I said, "This is Brendan, this is Erin," and they were thrilled to meet them because they had heard so much about
celebrities.
About them. And they're good kids. So
that's good.
They enjoyed it.
Yeah. So tell me do you have a story about something that you've written about recently? that you could share with us?
The one that caused the most excitement. We go into the Dorothy Curran Wednesday evening
Wednesday night
concerts,
concerts, yeah.
yes, in on City Hall Plaza, and we have for many years. And we get the bus that goes from Lower Mills to St. Brendan's, where we get on, and then we go by Keystone, the senior.
Keystone Apartments, yeah.
So those people get on. So there were about 20 of us about 2 weeks ago, hottest day of the year, and some of the people even pulled out because it was just too hot.
Yeah.
So we started out after Keystone and got up on the expressway. We got, the bus started bucking.
Oh, boy.
And I went, oh dear. It might have been the heat, I don't know. And so we, the bus driver, James, pulled over to the guardrail and the bus died. And we're right across from South Bay with the stores and everything. A couple of people got on their phones and called Boston Police. Then it has to go to State Police.
Yeah.
Because we were on the
On the
expressway.
expressway, yeah.
And so they knew exactly, they have finders, they knew exactly where we were. The people said we're right across from South Bay. And they knew exactly where we were. Within 3 minutes, there was a state trooper in his car right behind us with the lights flashing to protect us from being hit by a car.
Somebody else who wasn't paying attention, yeah.
So the state trooper came on, State Trooper Doyle, by the way.
Okay.
Very, very wonderful, wonderful man. And he came on and he said, are you people all right? Because here we are all in our 70s and 80s.
Roasting in a bus.
It was terrible. It was the worst day ever. So he went down back to the back of the bus. He opened the door so that we could get some air. There was no air anyway. And then after about a half hour, the bus driver started again with the state trooper's approval, and he got it going. We were so close to the guardrails that we couldn't get off in case we had to get off.
Yeah.
The state trooper took his car, state car, and pushed us, the bus, with all of us on it, pushed it out so that the bus driver could open the doors and we could get out if we had to. So we started out, he started the bus again, and it did start. We got along, the state trooper was behind us, then he got in front of us as we went into the tunnel right near City Hall.
Yeah.
And he cleared everybody out of the tunnel. There were lights, there was noise, his siren and everything. And there was nobody in front of us. And we started up the ramp to go out on the street.
Yeah.
And the bus died again. So here we are halfway up the ramp.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So the state trooper said, do you think all of you can walk up the few steps, probably 10, 15 steps, and then come out onto the street? So we said, sure. Most people either might have had a walker, but that was the extent of it. So we walked up the stairs. We were out in an island in the middle of the street. So he said, don't worry. He said, I'm going to stop all the traffic, and then you can walk across. He stopped all the traffic. I said we were a major hazard to traffic that night. And we just walked across the street, and he said, now you stay there, and the bus company will send another bus for you. But I had people saying, right on, Barbara, I knew that you guys could do it after they read the story.
Yeah, so people don't realize the adventures that you go through trying to get someplace.
Just to get to, and we were 15 minutes early. Usually we're an hour early. My husband walks over to Faneuil Hall, and we sit and talk among the women. Yeah, so,
That's
but
nice.
that was the best. I knew you could do it.
That's great. And you wrote that whole, now which, I'm gonna see if I can find that story in the Dorchester report.
It's about 3 weeks ago.
About 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and Trooper Doyle was wonderful. I gave the lady who organized it, Eileen Collins, extra papers in case she wanted to send one to his superior. I don't know what they call him in the state police, but he was positively wonderful. But pushing up us, and to turn it outwards from away from the
So in
guardrails.
case something happened, you could get off the bus. Yeah.
Positively, if we had to get off, but we were right against it, and of course the bus driver wanted to make sure he was out of the way of the traffic.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So that's the best story I've
That's
heard
the
in a long
best. That's the
time.
best one. That's great.
Positively.
That's good. That's interesting though.
Oh.
And I have one that I was reading on the way in here.
Oh, dear.
From one of our advocates, Jane Boyer.
Boyer, I love Jane.
Gave me a paper, and I was reading one of your articles on the way in, and I'm like, oh, that's really good. And I like you write from the view of a personal view, which is different. Most people write in third person, you know, but I like that because it's me and I and we, and you name names, so that's good.
I always ask though.
Yeah.
And if I write about, say, a wedding, do you want me to do it? I always write after the fact because they know that the house is empty.
Yeah,
during the wedding.
Exactly.
So I always write after.
After, that's a good safety tip.
Sure,
too.
I've learned that many. Not that I would ever do that, but I just said it. I can't write ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. Because you want people to be home when the article comes out, so
Yes.
so the house is occupied, and no stranger. People don't realize that a lot, though.
Positively,
Yeah.
and even with death, I try to write after the person has been buried because they know they'll be tied up at the wake and at the funeral.
Yeah.
We've had some lovely people die this summer, and it's been sad.
It is sad when you lose people.
Sure.
But have you ever was it your intention or was it your goal, one of your goals in life, to be a columnist?
I'm a teacher.
You're a teacher.
Yeah, I taught 5 years BK, before kids.
Okay. Before kids.
Yes.
Okay.
Once, I think I was like 6 or 7 months along with our oldest, Paul.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's good.
So I stopped then, and then I had 2 more after him. 2
But then
girls.
you picked it right up. So you had plenty of writing time between the first one and the next one and the next one and the last one.
No, I never wrote.
You never wrote?
No, I was busy with the kids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my husband worked 2 jobs. He was assistant principal in Boston, and he also worked for Purity Supreme, and he was in
I
the
remember
Fields
Purity
Corner.
Supreme.
Fields Corner.
Yeah.
He was there. You'd know him.
That was one of my favorite stores. I was hurt when they left.
Oh,
this.
positively. He
Yeah.
loved the store. He was
Yeah.
there for in Purity for 34 years. He was 37 years in the schools.
Wow.
So he just ran from job to job, and he'd call his mother, make sure she was okay. He had about 15 minutes and eat his dinner, and then he'd be out to
Back
the
out the
evening
door.
job. Yeah.
So you were a teacher in the Boston Public School System?
No, I was Weymouth.
Oh, Weymouth.
Yes,
Okay.
first grade.
So did you teach writing to your children? What did you teach in school?
First grade.
Oh, just first grade?
First
Okay.
grade, sure. I taught them how to print their letters and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I loved first grade.
I do. I love little kids, teaching them how to write, teach them how to print. I remember making the dots on the paper and teach them hold their hands while they draw until they get the hang of it themselves.
Sure.
That's good.
I had a child, and of course they wrote on lined paper,
Yeah.
and her name was Elizabeth Butterfield. So by the time she wrote on 2 lines, she had to turn the paper over
To get the other
to get
side,
on the other side to get
yeah.
a free line.
Yeah. Have you written a story about that? Have you written
No,
about
I never did. No,
So
but
why
I
don't you-
remember that
yeah.
because she was a nice little girl. But we finally ended up calling her Beth Butterfield.
Yeah.
And so that she could write on part of the front page, front of the page.
Yeah, long names. My name is really long too.
Yes,
So,
same.
and if you add the middle name to it, it's like 3 pieces of paper.
Oh,
Right,
sure,
right,
sure.
When
yeah.
you're doing it that way.
You need a ream.
Almost. But that's good. I'm one of the things I had said in a biography I wrote for someone is that I want to write some good news in a major newspaper because there's so much bad news. There isn't really any good news out there. But but reading your articles, even with the remembrances, it's still uplifting because you're remembering people. You're giving positivity to people, and that's a good thing. So I want to just encourage you to keep going with that.
I try to remember a funny thing that happened between us, and I can write about that.
Oh, that's good.
So
you can write about being on BNN today.
yeah, positively.
You can write
I'm
about
going
us.
home.
Write about us today. That'll be great. And I'll make sure I get a copy of that.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Okay, that's
Oh,
wonderful.
here to this.
You can still send it to the Elderly Commission. I work in the Elderly Commission.
In the City Hall, sure.
Yeah,
By the way, I love the mayor. He was our rep for 15 years.
Really?
Yeah, he's
nice.
lovely.
He's
He
nice.
really is. He tries hard. And
Have you written about him yet?
Oh, positive. I was invited to his inaugural, and I was thrilled to. I never thought I'd be invited because I'm a small newspaper. I'm not Globe and Herald. Hello there.
You have to start somewhere.
I'm too old to go any farther.
Nah, never too old.
So I was just tickled to go. My husband and I were invited, and that was a thrilling thing, just to see him up there. And I can think of him at our. I belonged to the Pope's Hill Association. As a matter of fact, I was one of the officers for 30 years. The recording secretary, and. He'd come to our meetings and face our issues and that kind of thing. So I was tickled to have him as elected as mayor.
That's wonderful.
And it was a beautiful ceremony.
I saw it. I was at work. I saw it on.
Did you see the
we saw it
TV?
on. We watched it on TV. Yeah.
It was positively thrilling.
It was nice.
And I saw so many people that I knew, and I said, they're there to support him. Yeah.
And the title of your column is A View from Pope's Hill, right?
I live in Pope's Hill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a part of Dorchester in the Neponset area. And John Pope, way back when, owned the whole hill.
Oh, okay.
And my street is a little one, tiny one off Pope's Hill, almost down to Morrissey Boulevard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a school in the way. The Murphy School is in the way.
I know where the Murphy School is.
Do you know where the Murphy is?
I do.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to meet you. I'm glad to find out some stuff about you. I'm glad that, because I didn't know. I said, oh, I'm going to be speaking to Barbara Mcdonough. It goes, oh, I know Barbara. Oh, I said,
who said that, Eileen?
Eileen said, Jane said, a few other people said, goes, oh, she's always at the concerts. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, there's so many people at the concerts when I'm working there. I don't see,
you don't even
see,
get a chance.
I'm just trying to make sure everybody's okay,
Sure.
And but I'm glad to meet you. So next time I see you, I'll know who you are.
Sure.
And just wave, throw my hand. Goes, oh, I know her. She's a columnist for the Dorchester Reporter.
They come up and say hello. Eileen comes up because she's all around taking photos and stuff.
Yeah.
So my husband takes photos too.
Oh, that's
We're invited to a lot of things because I can write about them.
And then he can take
and then
pictures.
he can take photos. And they might not get them in their lifetime. Not really. No, they might not get them within 6 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
But they'll get them in the next couple months.
Okay, that's time. That's still a timely matter when you talk about photography and things like that.
Sure.
So that's good.
Sure.
That's good.
We wait until there's a sale in like Walgreens, and then we get like 300, 400. My daughter does them, and she brings them forward or lightens them or gets them ready to be printed, and then she'll count the number of people in it. Often we take like 3 or 4 seniors.
Okay.
And she'll make 4 copies of
One
the
for each
photo,
senior.
one for each of the seniors.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so, I mean, and it's
Everybody
only...
wants their own picture.
Oh, sure.
Everybody wants their own. They want to share. They want their own.
Yeah, and if you watch Walgreens ad, it's 10 cents. So, I mean, for 10 cents, you give them a remembrance of what they were doing at the time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
I like doing it. I'll do it till I can't do it anymore.
Okay.
My daughter, I print my column in work, and I can't see periods and commas, which is which. And
Yeah,
so
I
she'll
have
go.
that. Sometimes you have to, get the magnifying glass out. You have to kind of look and see.
Unless you have a daughter who's got younger eyes than you, and she looks through it and she'll say, "Ma," and she'll put it in red, so I'll know. The next morning go in, change it, and it'll be ready for the proofreader.
Yeah, that's good though.
So
That's
she's
excellent.
wonderful. She's a big help, and my husband is a big help too.
And I looked at the article that Jane gave me today. It's not just a column. You have a whole page. You have a whole page. So that's impressive too, because most columnists have a little bitty column, like maybe that long, and they got to squeeze everything in that little bitty column. You got I'm like, oh,
a lot of times I'll put in, we just went to a family wedding shower. And way back when my daughter was married, we did a thing called the alphabet box.
Okay.
So that'll be out, as a matter of fact, today.
Okay.
My daughter didn't have a box. My daughter in Rockport, Jeannie, the younger one, she and our granddaughter, Erin, and the daughter that lives across the street from me, Susan, who's here, they collaborated and they made the alphabet box, and the alphabet bag in this case. There's a string coming out of the bag.
Okay.
And so they'll put the letter A on the string, and then out will pop an apron.
Oh, okay.
So for every letter.
Oh, goodness.
And I'm going, we did this 30 years ago.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it since. And
I've never heard about it.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's terrific because you give them light bulbs. It's something, Scotch tape.
Yeah, okay. Things that are really needed.
Positively, they go, oh, gee, I don't have a Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
And the Z is Ziploc bag.
Okay. That sounds interesting. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, I thank you for coming to share yourself with us today.
Thank you.
And everybody needs to pick up the Dorchester Reporter so we can keep abreast of your column, your page, not just a column.
I do 3 columns.
Oh, you do 3?
Yes, I do birthdays, and I have a huge calendar with everybody's birthday on it that I know. People call me up and say, "Would you put my husband in next week? He's going to be 50."
Oh, okay.
So I do special birthdays, and if they say 50, I know they want me to say 50, so I'll say, Bob Short will celebrate his 50th birthday next week.
That's good. Birthdays are important. I don't care what you say.
Everybody loves to see, and the little kids love it.
I love to tell people when my birthday is, the hopes of getting a present, but that doesn't happen too often. But I just want to thank you again for coming to join us today on Seniors Count, and just wanted to let you know that as you view us today, that Seniors Count is brought to you by Mayor Martin J. Walsh and our Commissioner Emily Shea. And to contact us, please call us at 617-635-4366 or the Mayor's 24-hour hotline at 617-635-4500. You may also email us at elderly@boston.gov, or you can find us on Facebook. Take care and see you next time. Bye-bye.
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.